Hello, everyone. So today, I actually is not going to be the reflect and reset with Maria and Gina, but it's reflect and reset with Maria and Natasha, my daughter. Hi. I am so excited to have you here with me, Monkey.
I am too. I'm so excited.
So Natasha and I have actually done a part of a podcast, the podcast that I have, Reflexiones con Maria, Reflect with Maria. And Natasha has been on that podcast a few times. And I decided, and we actually were talking about the difficulties of parenting and supporting your children during the COVID pandemic, because these are definitely it's an era that is bringing challenges that are tremendous challenges for parents as well as children. And I wanted to talk to Natasha, and we have a special guest as well. So, Henry, let's bring Dr. Edith Shiro. Dr. Shiro, how are you?
Hello, hello. What a treat to have you and your daughter. How beautiful.
I know. I actually feel pretty amazing right now because Natasha has been, she's been an open book like her mom. She is very open about her struggles, and we've shared some of the struggles on our podcast. And I said, why don't we come and talk about what, the perspective of a teen, preteen, because she's going to be a teenager in January. How has she dealt with the pandemic? What are the different challenges that she struggles with? So you are seeing this with, I'm sure, a lot of parents. Like, let's talk about what you're seeing in your practice.
Yeah, I actually, even today, I just had a family of 4 little kids, and especially families that have children 12 and younger, I would say, because schooling is still so intense and so not independent for the children, and parents having to deal with both their own work and being full-time parents and do all the house chores and having time for couple and socializing. It's really, really a lot. I would say too much is overwhelming, the demands and expectations that these parents have to deal with. I don't see so much the anxiety and the stress from the child's perspective, because children, yes, they're missing their social life, they're missing their routine with their friends and going to school sometimes. But what's happening at home with all the different roles that parents have to deal with at the same time, it's pretty overwhelming. So that makes the parents be very irritable, be in a bad mood, have short patience, not be tolerant. So that creates a lot of friction and sometimes fights at home because of it.
Yeah. So with Natasha, I know that we have talked about it, and I think for you, like, what have been the struggle for you with the pandemic?
Well, it definitely causes more anxiety, and it makes my social life harder. Sometimes I get more anxious around people now because I wasn't used to being around a lot of people during quarantine, and just missing my friends and just having a little bit of a hard time mentally going through that.
I get it. Yeah, that's actually a good point, Natasha, because it's not so much dealing with your friends, but that transition from being isolated or in less touch and, being at home or with yourself, with a few neighbors and friends, to all of a sudden see all of your friends or having to socialize with more people. It's a little bit difficult to make that change. And still, things are not 100% clear. So some kids are back in school, socializing with friends in the new school year, and then back at home because the school is closed. And then do you socialize via social media? Do you socialize in person? There's all the stress of like having a mask all the time. What are the limitations of like doing things and not doing things? It's very, very difficult and overwhelming, I think, for most kids.
Yeah, and one of the things that I know with Natasha, like when we would go to the store at the beginning, it was when people started to go to the stores. She was very afraid not to be too close to people and not have, wear a mask. This is something that she's very focus on wearing a mask. And your concern is not just yourself, but you want to talk about what are the other concerns?
Well, like, obviously I care about other people and my family and my friends. And I don't know, I feel like, because some people don't really, like, follow the rules, and I want to just have a good impact on those people so that we can all protect each other.
Yeah. And she was thinking also of her grandmother. She has grandparents. So she is concerned that, and what I had to learn, that I had to respect the way that she feels about COVID. And I think this is, as parents, we have to respect our kids, and because, not just our kids, like, people deal with the pandemic differently. And I had to learn to respect that she was extremely careful, because I am dealing with the tests, and I see that, especially as it started to slow down, I was dealing with the tests, and I realized that we had nobody positive. So I was more comfortable, but she was not me. So I needed to respect that. And that was an adjustment, right?
Yeah.
I actually like very much that point that Natasha is bringing, also because listening to our children and really paying attention what their needs are, Maria, is one of the most important points during this pandemic. It's really sitting down with your child and paying attention to what their standards are, what their boundaries are, what their needs are, and what are their feelings during this time, without assuming that you have the answers as parents. So maybe the way you handle COVID, or the way you handle the mask, and the way you handle social distance might be different than what Natasha wants or needs or is understanding. In the same way, and that needs to be respected. In the same way, I know, for example, there are children that are not wanting to see their grandparents because they feel responsible. They don't want their grandparents to get sick. And also, if they see the grandparents as a social distance, I had a couple of children that when they saw the grandparents and they were not able to hug them and kiss them, they got so sad and frustrated. They said, I'd rather not see them than have to have that rejection of not being able to, squeeze them and hug them and kiss them, because it was so painful to go through that. So it's better to keep the distance until they're able to again touch, and have that connection. So really, these are things that might be small, but they really make a big difference in terms of how we're dealing with our children at home.
Yeah, Natasha and I have done so much work together, because I say, it's a team effort, right?
Yeah.
We have been really trying to figure out, how do I learn what she needs, and how does she learn what I need? And I know even during the pandemic, because like Edith was saying, we are all very stressed out. And I know that for me, the nights are a little bit difficult, but I actually share with Natasha why the nights are difficult. You want to share that?
Yeah, so, well, nights are difficult for her because of what happened in her past was at nighttime. So she still relives that moment in her mind, and it brings back bad memories that affect her. And I try to understand that, but obviously sometimes it's a little frustrating. But
but you see, when I say to Natasha, the nights, it's not that I'm thinking about what happened, but I realize, because I'm so in tune with myself, that at night I happen to have a little less patience, and I'm a patient woman. And I try to explain to Natasha, especially when about a year ago we started to really work in communicating a lot better, because we were like this. And I said, I want to figure out a way that I get closer to her, and that I find a way to connect with her in a way that she can understand me and that I can understand her. And I explained to her, sometimes at night, you could see that I have a little bit of less patience, because what happened to me when I was a child, that trauma, for whatever reason, the nights have always been a little more difficult for me. But ironically, you know what that did? It did, as you know, as a therapist, I'm sure. I mean, she understood me and she was able to deal with me and actually say, okay, I understand it's night. I'm going to go to sleep a lot faster. Or she became my cheerleader and we started to help each other.
I love that. I love that. That's such a good example of actually being in tune with your emotions, with your feelings, and not just paying attention to them, but actually express them to the people that you live with. So you were such a good role model for Natasha in the sense that you identify what is the trigger in your life, or one of the triggers in your life, like nighttime, that like really sets the tone for like reliving the trauma or having like intense feelings about the trauma. So not just identifying, okay, nighttime might be a trigger for me, but actually telling Natasha or whomever is living with you, hey people, this is what happens to me. So don't take it personally. It's not about you. I'm not trying to fight with you. It's not nothing of what's actually going on. It's more like a mechanism of survival that I have inside of me that I need some tolerance and some patience. Now, the same way, Maria, that you're doing it to Natasha, you as a parent can I invite Natasha to do it with you. You can say, Natasha, listen, when you're having a feeling, or when you feel like when you're sensing something about yourself, when you're feeling anxious about something, or when you feel that there's like a trigger that is like putting into motion some kind of like depression or anxiety or irritability or mood change, say it to me, express it to me. Say, hey, mommy, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's going on. I'm annoyed at this. I'm bored with that. This bothers me. And then you can actually open the conversation to what is it that's happening without having to react to it, and that create a whole dramatic, exchange between the two of you.
That is such an amazing tool. Such an amazing tool, Edith. I can tell you that I know her trigger. And we talk about triggers. And for example, talk about your anxiety about living with two parents, right? Because all of you know that I'm divorced, and I've been divorced for 5 years. But Natasha has been almost, I would say 60% of the time with me, 40% with her dad. In the transition, what does that create for you?
Yeah, so because it's very two different worlds and in different places, it causes like anxiety, and I'm always thinking about who I'm going to next, so I can never be in the present moment. But it does cause a lot of anxiety because I go to two different places that have different mentalities, which cause me to have different mentalities. So then when I go from each place, I have to make a big change in my mind and adjust.
Yeah, like that is, so I understand her. I didn't know, like she will get very anxious on Tuesday because on Tuesday is the last day that I'm going to see her, because she goes with her dad on Wednesday and Thursday. So I realized later on, as we were communicating a lot better, that that's what she was feeling. And that's why sometimes I'm like, oh my God, she's driving me crazy. And then,
no, and thank you.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry, Maria. Yeah, no, but
that is the reason. No, it's okay. That is the reason I now can understand, and I actually am more patient with her, and I get to spend a little more time with her. I'll finish my work a little bit sooner so that we can get to spend more time, and we're dealing with her anxiety that way.
No, and you know what? That this is so important that you're actually saying it, because believe it or not, exactly what Natasha is talking about is such a classical situation that happens with children of divorce. So Natasha, I want to tell you, you're not the only one dealing with this. This is very normal, extremely normal. Children that have to go from two different households with two different set of rules, with two different cultures or mini cultures in each household, with two different ways of existing, really have it really, hard, because it's like you have to keep adjusting from one to the other, and there's always a transition going on, right? So by the time you get adjusted into one household, then you have to move into the next. And then when you're like settled down in the next, then you have to move back into the first one. And then you go back and forth like that the whole time. So the way I was dealing with that at first, when parents would come that wanted to get divorced, I said to them, well, you, the adults, are the ones that want to separate and get divorced. The children don't want to do that. So you keep the children in the same household, and you have to move from one house to another and keep the children in the same place, because it's not fair for them, right? That they have to go back and forth, back and forth. Right? That would make it a lot easier. Right, but I know that's not realistic, but that's always my first proposition for divorced parents. But what it is possible, it's not just that Natasha tells you this, and that for children to talk to their parents about those triggers, but for the parents to actually be informed about what are the expectations in one household and what are the expectations on the other, so they can help with the transition each time. For example, if in one household being on time is not so important, or having, going to bed early is not so important, but in the other household is, the parents have to help the children say, okay, remember that in your parents' house, in your father's house, you have to have this and this and this and that. And I'm going to help you go there and do it better so you don't get in trouble. Or remember that here, this is what we do. Or, put like a big flyer in the kitchen and say, the rules in this house are this, 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 and this, and make it very explicit. And the rules in the other house are, another set of rules. So the kids can have like some sort of sense of where they are and what's going on. And by the way, keeping some sort of routine, which I think, Maria, you have, with Natasha. It's like every day the same, every week, and the same back and forth for a year, so they don't have to keep changing and keep readjusting. It's super helpful. The thing is that with the COVID, things get a little bit more difficult. These transitions get a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, because even like how we deal with COVID is different in the different households.
Right? Exactly.
And at the beginning, I know she had to adjust to the fact that when we were doing the COVID testing and COVID was a full force, I didn't get to see Natasha for about a month and a half. She was with her dad. And how hard was that?
It was really hard. It was hard to like be without my mom because, I guess I'm the daughter, so then I'm attracted to my mom.
She's like, how can you not be? She likes being around me. She likes, so that was difficult. But you see, again, is how we communicate with our children. I said to Natasha, Mommy's sacrificing, and I want you to know that you're sacrificing, so you are a hero, because we are sacrificing our love and our connection for about a month and a half that we will not get back, but we are helping people. And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel proud of myself, and proud of my mom. I was mostly proud of my mom because I knew like how she was helping like so many people with this, because it was an even bigger issue at the time. But I did feel proud of myself that I sacrificed precious time with her. So yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. It gives me chills, really. It's so beautiful. The way that you also explain it, because it's not just like, I don't want to see you, you don't want to see me, or we have to separate for a month, but there's a purpose for this. There's a meaning and a purpose. And that's really what makes a difference. And that really helps a lot with parenting, especially with children today, this generation that Natasha is in. They require explanations. They require an understanding of why they're doing the things that they're doing. It's not just like, okay, you do it and that's it because I say so. There's no because I say so anymore. It's like, this is what's going on. The COVID is handled this way. This is what the decisions I'm going to make. This is what the world is going through. What is your opinion? What is your understanding? And how can we together create some sort of agreement in how to function, so I can respect your needs and you respect mine? And that's really a dialogue that you can have with little kids also, not just kids with, Natasha's age and older, but with little children too. They do understand. They do understand what's going on.
I think that's one of the biggest lessons that if you can get from this show is that communication needs to be clear and it needs to be available. But there, to be able to have communication, we have to be able to respect each other, right? And we have learned to respect each other and to take advantage of the time that we're spending with each other. For example, I'll give you a little tip that we do in the mornings when I take Natasha to school. I think we have the best time, and it's only 10 minutes, right? But how much do you learn?
Well, a lot. I've learned so many lessons in the car, or even eating dinner or date nights that we have. Just so many life lessons, about happiness or gratitude or being in the present moment.
Tell them what you told me. Was it today, this morning?
Yeah. I learned from her to not let your happiness depend on other people, which is a very big thing that I need to work on.
We all do.
Everybody
we all do.
Yeah.
I tell her the goal is to try really not to let other people, your happiness depend on other people. And especially at her age. And I tell her, listen, mommy learned this at the age of 56. That's where I am. But you are in the process. And what I want to do for her is be able to accelerate the process. That's why I share so much of what the things, the tools that I've gotten in throughout my journey. I want to share it with my daughter. And we feel many times that like, oh, they're kids, they're not going to really understand. How much do you understand?
Well, I understand a lot. And thanks to my mom for trusting that I would understand everything. But yeah, many people have told me that I'm like better, like I'm good, like I'm mature, like mentally. But I just, I guess I take it from her.
That's beautiful. And one of the things that as I listen to the two of you and how your communication has been so, much better and taken to another level of really awareness and openness. It's also, Maria, stopping, like, we say the transmission of trauma from generation to generation. It's also the transmission of divorce and the difficulties and traumatic experience of a divorce, because it's never easy to go through divorce for the parents and for the children, right? So by you handling like this with Natasha, you're really giving her the tools and the healing experiences for her not to have to repeat all these difficult moments and all these difficult transitions to her own, parenting and her own family when she creates one for herself. So this is definitely something that it's not just for between the two of you, but it's really for the next generation and then the generation after that. So that's very powerful.
It's incredible you say that, because during our trip to school today, I said to Natasha, the beauty of understanding like that we all have good and we all have bad things that we bring into parenting, her dad and myself. And I said, my goal is that you take all the good and mostly the good. Obviously, we have, traits that we're going to be passing on to our children. But the fact is that I said, when you were, Edith, when we did the launch in English for the book in English and the movement, and I passed the torch to my daughter. And I said to her, that was, for me, priceless.
That was amazing, and moving, really.
And I said to her, that represented that I broke this cycle. And you have the torch and you are breaking this cycle. Now you are going to be even better, a more powerful woman with amazing children, that she is going to make sure that whatever darkness I brought from my childhood, because we all, like you said, it's in our DNA. And I'd love for you to talk quickly about that, because that was a powerful statement that you made, how it's in the DNA.
Yeah, this is like something that actually has been discovered very recently, which is the epigenetics. We always knew that we get our genetic information from our mother and our father, or whomever, with the two human beings that combine to create the, the baby. So we carry that. And now genetic information doesn't change while we're living our life. What does, and this is what's the good news, is that the expression of the genes is what we can manipulate and change. So you can have dormant the information of the trauma, and depending on what happens in your life, the experiences in your life, you can manifest it and express it, or you can change it. And that is really, really powerful, because that means that no matter what information you carried genetically from your ancestors, you have the power to really create a new reality for yourself, and to really allow your own body to express the kind of information in your genes that you want, and that it's better, more evolved, more conscious, that it's really something that that really heals for the next generation. So for me, that's an incredible tool. And this is something that we really need to be aware of.
I love it. I love it. This is what this
I
is the
know
moment.
you express the feeling that you want to do this with me. And I'm handing the torch to you tonight. We will do this together.
Wow. This was quite a moment. Quite a moment. Our producer is amazing. I didn't even know he was going to bring that out, Henry.
Wow, I cried so much. I cried so much during that moment, and it was so powerful to see it happen right there and then, and to have all your kids there watching and say, when you gave it to Natasha, the two boys were saying, it's not just Natasha. I think you said it. It's not just Natasha because she's a girl, but it's also passing the torch to the boys, because sexual abuse or any kind of abuse, it doesn't depend just on the women. It depends on all of us. And the same with trauma from divorce or any other experiences that can create so much damage, to really break that cycle. And it's so amazing to see you do that, Maria.
Thank you. I am, Edith, I'm very proud. I'm very proud that I've been able to do that. And today I was actually doing a little video that I do of reading my book. And I talk about how, what I'm leaving to this earth. What is it? What is the legacy? And I said, it is not the business that I've been able to create. It is not the money that I have. It is not the good that I've collected. This is my legacy. My children, the fact that I know that the world will be a better place because I've done all this work and I'm breaking this cycle, in this tremendous vicious cycle that exists. I've made her world a better world, and she would make her children's world a better world, and we will be transforming our generations to generations. So I'm proud. I just saw that and I'm like, wow.
That was an amazing one. How was it for Natasha? I'm curious to, how was it for you, Natasha, to go to be in that play, in that moment?
Well, I really loved being up there on stage. I was really, like present in the moment. I just love to learn about, what happened to her, how she overcame it. And when she gave me the torch, I knew like how important that moment was and what it meant. So it meant a lot to me, and I'm just very proud of her.
Yeah. And I have to say, to all the parents out there that are watching this, what we were saying, Edith, we got to treat our children with respect. And I know, because I've been there. This has been a growth for me, a tremendous growth with my children, because I was born in a Latino culture where cállate, you be quiet. There is you have no rights. Children did not have rights. And I wanted to make sure that I changed that cycle, because subconsciously I found myself having that type of style. And I said, no, I don't want that. I want to respect my children. I want to connect with my children. I want to love my children. And the only way we could do that is if we learn to respect them, and they will respect us because they're human beings with their own feelings. Obviously, we are the adults and we have to make decisions for them, but we have to love them and respect them.
Yeah, and Maria, but you know what? Before you go and love them and respect them, the step previous to that is loving and respecting yourself. Because when we love and respect ourselves as adults, then we don't project all that shadow and all those traumas and all that confusion onto our children. So really, if you want to be the best possible parent, and I always say this when I'm doing parenting workshops and, talks, is that you want to be the best parent. Instead of looking for the tools to how to parent, look for the tools and how to deal with your own traumas. That's how you become a better parent, right? It's like you deal with yourself, you take care of yourself, you heal yourself. And from that place of healing and self-love and respect, that's when you're going to be better able to be present for your child and to respect your child and to listen with clear mind. Like Natasha says, be present in the moment. That's how you do it, because otherwise you get all those thoughts like, oh, she's doing this to me, she's doing that to me, they don't love me, she's rejecting me, why they don't obey me, I'm the authority here, my ego is in the way, all the things that come in the way, oh, they love their father more than they love me, or they don't, they don't care about all the sacrifices that I make for them, all these, little dramas that we parents go through that have nothing to do really with the reality of the relationship between our children and us, right? So that's my invitation really for parents, to start dealing with yourself.
I love it. You're absolutely right. I mean, I absolutely, at this stage, I could say that I totally love the woman that I am, from head to toe, from my soul to my heart to my brain, all of me. And that was not the case. So when you read my book, I Say No More, you can see that that was not the case. So what you said before, there is hope. There is hope. We can change. All of us can change. We can change ourselves and we can change our children. We can change our relationship with our children. So this has been an amazing show. We could talk forever. And that's why I bring you back, Edith, because you're so insightful. And I love the way that you treat patients. And I know that your heart is there, and it just shows even the way you speak, your passion for what you do. I want to thank you again, as always, for the work you do, because it's so necessary. This is something, therapy is something that we all need. In my mind, we all need to reparent ourselves. We all need someone's objective opinion on how to guide us at times. So let's reflect and reset.
Thank you. And I love this space. I love this space on reflecting and resetting. And this is a beautiful invitation always to share with you, Maria. And what a treat to have Natasha with us today.
Thank you.
It was a special moment for me that gets recorded, and it would always be here for Natasha as well, even when mommy's gone, which hopefully is not for a long time. Thank you so much to all of you for following. Thank you, Edith. Thank you, Henry. Thank you for the support that you've given me. It's amazing. I'm so touched by all the love and support throughout these few weeks of the launch. And remember, if you like the show, please remember to give us a like. Take care, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye.